Theresa, is Nick right? I mean, is it hard to be a new person to designer toys and find that community of friends and people just discuss and introduce the world of designer toys to you?
Do you feel like if people came over and were interested that a lot of the way people comment and talk about Funko will turn people off? Like, does it turn you off at all? Like Vin, my plastic heart, he gives me a heart attack all the time because a lot of times he just puts stuff up. You have that oh shit moment.
Hey Toy Family, I'm Vin of my plastic heart, and you are listening to the Marsham Toy Hour,
where we discuss anything and everything designer toys. I'm Gary Ham.
I'm Theresa Hawkins.
And where's George, Theresa?
I don't know. So he was on his little DCon trip. Did I say that right? DCon?
DCon, yeah. He went out to New York for a couple of weeks, spent some time with the Four Horsemen, but he got back today. He sent a text, let me know when we're recording. And where is he?
And we did. I don't know. But, this has happened before, and we've waited, and it bit us in the butt, so we decided, sorry, George, we're not giving you a ton of time. We're just going to start.
It's either two things. He's in the back of Target where you can't get phone reception, or he's in Jessica's claws.
I'm sure it's Jess. Sorry, Jess. But he just got home from a trip. She's probably all, oh, come be with me. I miss you.
She misses her boy. I get it.
But hey, I think they're getting married. Wow, like in a couple weeks, right? Like less than 2 weeks?
18, and I haven't received my wedding invitation. Have you?
No.
Jeez. We don't even make the wedding list. What losers. You're actually talking to me now?
For now. I'm doing this for Nick. So, Nick, what you don't realize is I'm back in the anti-Gary Ham club right now.
Big time. Yeah. I got the cold shoulder all day, Nick. This is like, I woke up to a text. I responded. She didn't like the text. Gave me the cold shoulder all day. And this is actually the first time I'm hearing from her today.
Oh, that's why she sounded so crabby the first time she got on.
I think she was just tired, but...
No.
Damn.
Okay, no. And we didn't even really fully introduce our guest. We're just popping him in. But no, Gary, you have a really bad habit of insulting my toy purchases. And it has to stop. You have a very bad habit of it. You're like, oh, that's ugly. Oh, why'd you buy that? And it's like,
no,
Gary,
I haven't.
stop it.
I've done it once or twice.
You did it this morning, and I woke up, and I was like, nope, I'm done with you for today. And I really actually committed to it.
Oh, you
and
stuck.
I ignored you all
Oh,
day.
yeah. No, I was sending her questions throughout the day, Nick, to kind of feel her out, and got nothing in return. Nothing. It was a chilly, chilly day in Arizona.
Ooh,
you deserved
rare.
a little cold shoulder. But we should probably actually introduce our guest properly, Gary. So explain who this Nick is.
So this is a collector edition of the Marsham Toy Hour, and what we do on the collector edition, we invite a collector on and get to know them, what they collect, why they collect, when they got into collecting, and all that good stuff. So joining us this episode is Nick Aliotta. He is, well, let's find out what kind of collector. Welcome, Nick.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. Did I pronounce your name correctly? Did I say Nick correctly?
Yeah, it's a hard K, so you did that really well. Yeah,
what
definitely.
About Aliotta?
Yeah, it's good enough. It's close enough.
What is it really?
It's Aliotta.
I had a 50-50 shot, and I get it wrong every time.
Yeah, you biffed it.
Allie instead of Ailey?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
All right, so Mr. Aliotta, where are you living now? I know you've been moving a lot, and so where are you living now?
Currently, I'm in Madison, Wisconsin. So I'm born and raised Wisconsin, Milwaukee area. After college, I went out to New England, Maine, and New Hampshire. Did a little work out there. Met my wife, who is from Arizona. Moved to Arizona after a few years. Lived out there for a while. Had some kids. It got a little too hot, so we moved back to Wisconsin.
I get that. So I first knew you when you were in Arizona, but we met through... Yep. Actually, I think we met through this podcast, actually. I think you started commenting on some of the episodes and stuff like that, and I learned you're in Phoenix, and we got to talking, and then here we are.
Yep. Yeah, actually, I'm friends with your brother. So he was the one who turned me on to, the podcast. So I got listening and got chatting, and that was my foray into the full-blown world of designer toys.
Okay, so you mentioned my brother. For anyone
Yes.
who's not familiar, my twin brother Greg, he's a designer at Funko. So if you knew Greg before you knew me, I'm assuming, or I already know the answer, that before you got into designer toys, you were actually a Funko collector.
Yeah, I was and still am. Dun dun dun. But when Greg first came on to Funko, he designed essentially one of my favorite Star Wars characters in a pop form. And when that got posted up, I found out he was the artist and kind of struck up a conversation with him about that. And it kind of led to us becoming internet friends. And then we met at San Diego, and he turned me on to your podcast, and here we are today.
So did you always collect toys in general, or did you just start collecting once you discovered Funko?
No, from as long as I can remember, I've always collected something. I was that kid who had friends whose parents bought them 2 of each Star Wars action figure, one to open and one to keep in the package.
I don't know anyone who had parents that did that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
No, so I don't know if that's what it stems from or what, but I've always collected something. And for a long time in my adult life, it was mint on card action figures, whether it was Star Wars Black or Marvel Legends or Masters of the Universe or whatever. But that was kind of unsatisfying to collect. It was kind of like I bought it, was like cool, and then put it in a closet, and that was kind of the end of it. So when I was looking to kind of do more of a display, Kid Robot was something that was kind of on my radar. I bought some early Kid Robot pieces, well, not early, but earlier Kid Robot pieces, but it was always pop culture related, so Futurama, that type of thing. So I had some of those. Then Funko started coming out with more and more things, and something that really appealed to me with Funko is that their boxes weren't sealed, and I could take the toy out and the box integrity would maintain the same. And for a mint on card in box action figure collector, that's kind of a big deal. So it was just kind of something that, these vinyl figures that went with, whether it be comic books that I had or whatever, they were just fun to display. And then, I kind of discovered the community, and it kind of took off from there. And then from there kind of opened up to other things.
Which community are we talking about? The Funko community?
Yeah, Funko community, the Funatic forum, that type of thing. But then I guess that inevitably led me to designer toys, because then Funko led me to talk to Greg. Greg led me to your podcast. Your podcast led me to designer toys.
And here we are.
The true
circle.
designer toys. Yeah, like artists.
That's crazy to me, because I figured you found designer toys just through collecting. I didn't realize it was this podcast that actually got you into it. That's cool.
Yeah. Every piece that I own was mentioned or brought up on this podcast.
See,
Cool.
we're influential. We're having an impact. We're bringing in new eyes and new money to the scene.
Yeah.
We did it.
We should start getting paid sponsorships for the toys we leak and sneak, Gary.
We should, because not only do I know for a fact, since Nick has been turned on to our podcast, he spread the word to all of his Funko friends, and they're also listening, and they're getting into designer toys too, right, Nick?
Oh, yeah. There is a minute part of the community that does collect designer toys as well. But, you think of the Funko community, I use that word loosely because it's definitely morphed over the last few years to a much larger thing than it was only a couple years ago. And now you've got a lot of the reselling and that type of thing going on, which doesn't seem to be so prevalent in the designer toy community. I kind of find myself retreating there a little bit more, just because it's a little more niche still underground, as they say.
I guess if you started collecting designer toys through this podcast, we've been doing this almost 2.5 years now, so you've been collecting just over 2 years. So what is it that you collect in the designer toys? Any particular artist, or are you kind of all over the place, or what are you collecting?
Yeah, usually I stick to an artist. Every once in a while there will be things that pop up that are kind of outside of my realm, but I love them and I gotta have them. The big one is freaking Gary Ham. Unfortunately, I collect a lot of what you do, even though you haven't come out with anything in a while.
Yeah.
See, it's like a backhanded compliment. So I have a bunch of the Whooper Loopers, a bunch of your stuff, Hermes.
Wow, Hermes. That toy's almost 8 years old now. So going that far back, and Whooper Loopers too, those are generally old too. So being a new collector to the scene and having to backtrack a lot of the toys that have already sold out, how are you getting those? You're not probably knowledgeable enough to know about all the buy-sell trade groups and stuff within the community. Are you primarily using probably something like an eBay to track down old toys?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's a lot of monitoring eBay. Luckily, I was fortunate enough to find a really awesome collector who was selling a lot of Whooper Loopers. So I came into some through that. Otherwise, it's just, I have my safe searches and check them frequently and see if anything new pops up. So
It's funny because I don't think, I'm probably in the same boat as you, Nick. There's still older pieces, even Whooper Loopers as an example, that I haven't gotten my hands on, and they don't pop up often. It's not like Funko or even certain designer toys that are hot right now. You just have to kind of wait and get lucky sometimes. So I get it. Saved eBay searches are important, and perusing buy, sell, trade, and just hoping someone decides, hey, I don't want this anymore. And you're like, okay, cool. I'll take it.
yeah, definitely.
Is eBay kind of been a main portal for you to be able to get a hold of older pieces?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a part of the secret waffle group, but so every once in a while that stuff comes up on there, but that's mostly newer stuff, it seems, lately. Kid Robot buy, sell, trade, every once in a while stuff will pop up there. I think I bought my Halloween Whooper Looper from somebody off of that group.
Oh, nice.
Every once in a while something will pop up on there, but it seems like eBay's the best bet here.
It's definitely a sure bet. It's kind of can be obviously iffy from a price perspective.
Sure.
Because a lot of people use eBay and list stuff way above retail, but I get it. I obviously still buy stuff off eBay too. So the Kid Robot group honestly has morphed a bit because that group's been around for a while, and I've been in that group since it was under 1,000 members, and it's over 4 at this point. And I think it's because Kid Robot has really expanded into the license world, so there's a lot of people joining the group from that perspective. And it's weird because back in the day, while it said Kid Robot buy, sell, trade, it really was a Facebook alternative to the Kid Robot forums, which meant anything and everything designer toy, really. And then over time, I think people are seeing Kid Robot in the name, and therefore, which makes sense, it's a Kid Robot group. And so I found that over time, that group has really become a lot more Kid Robot focused, especially a lot of the licensed stuff, and a lot less of designer toys. So I haven't really seen as much pop in that group as it used to.
Right. I mean, I'll agree with you
So,
there, but
I don't know.
Nick, when you first got started into collecting, you said you got pulled into the collecting through pop culture related stuff that was already relatable to you. But now that you're starting in the designer toys and you're starting to see things that they're not based on any license. A lot of the stuff is based on a painting or original ideas, original IPs, or things that are just being self-produced. Creators are making things that they want to make. So what's the big difference there for you? Because you used to collect stuff or you still do collect stuff that has very wide market appeal, world-renowned sort of stuff, but to also now collecting stuff that's a lot more niche to where maybe only a few thousand people know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's polar opposites. I get my pop culture fix from Funko. That's the type of style that I want for those type of toys. When I look at designer toys, I want single artist run toy production. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with the Kid Robot stuff, because I do have a good amount of that. But again, that's the artist run stuff with Kid Robot, not the licensed stuff. So I want the more of the, quote unquote art pieces for my designer toys, rather than like a Rick and Morty statue or Family Guy, whatever, that type of thing. Like I said, I get that from Funko, so I don't need another avenue for that. So I like designer toys for more of the kind of unique, kind of off the cuff stuff.
Right. So what kind of differences are you noticing between the two different communities? I mean, one being the Funko fanatics versus the designer toy scene.
I think the designer toy world's a little more quiet than Funko. I mean, there's a lot of chatter that happens in Funko because you have so many avenues. Like, you've got the message boards, which I really like because it's kind of a safe haven. Not a lot of negative stuff gets said. People don't go there to complain or anything like that. It's kind of more of a community building site. Nobody's really buy, sell, trading. So it's just more conversations with people rather than, trying to sell this thing so I can buy this thing. Facebook and Instagram or whatever is the avenue for that with Funko. Whereas designer toys, it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of difficult. I haven't really found a great kind of avenue like that. I mean, I listen to the podcast and I'm a part of the Facebook groups, but as far as, kind of like a community of friends, like I don't see that a whole lot. And like I said, I'm new, so I don't I don't know where to look, but that's kind of what I see.
Right. I mean, honestly, Nick, it's not on you. I hate to say it, but I think it's more on us as a community, and that's why we're doing this podcast. That's why we started the Stomping Ground. We wanted to get more, because you're right. There really isn't a place to go to that's like a community that like you have at Funko. We just don't have that anymore. It used to be the Kid Robot forums many, many, many years ago, but that forum's pretty much dead and non-existent at this point. I mean, it's a ghost town, and a lot of that happened because of immaturity and negativity, but also because social media just became prominent. You know, Twitter and Instagram, and Funko is just one company to follow. You know, it's so much easier when the fan base can all just go to one location and everyone pretty much collects all different categories from the same company. It'd be like, you know, kind of like the Kid Robot. If everyone was only into Kid Robot, or, you know, there's different course groups and Unbox and Instinct Toy people, like Designer Toys, there's just so many companies and so many different artists and so many different genres that people like to collect. It's really hard to have that one-stop shop. And Theresa, is Nick right? I mean, is it hard to be a new person to Designer Toys and find that community of friends and people just discuss and introduce the world of Designer Toys to you? Because I'm starting to I think he might be right. I think I've taken it for granted. I've been in this toy scene for 14 plus years. I mean, I built the relationships and the friendships. So if I want to discuss or talk Designer Toys, I just text or email or, you know, DM someone. I'm starting to realize that, yeah, maybe, you know, the new people like Nick, there just isn't a place for them to really get into our community.
Yeah, no, it's a good point, because, you know, most of the groups out there are buy sell trade. They're not really communities per se. And there was the Kid Robot message boards or forums or whatever, but as far as I know, they're pretty much dead. No one's really using them. I know a lot of people did form friendships through that back in the day, but even when I came into the scene, it was not really being used very much. So yeah, I agree. I mean, I feel like really to get to know people, going to events is kind of how I've really gotten closer to people. Probably secondary to that is Instagram. I started kind of posting photos of my toys, gosh, I don't even know, a couple years back. And I think through that, you know, you start to meet people that way. And, you know, certain people will collect similar things. You might start chatting and DMing and Facebook Messenger and all that. But yeah, there's really not a community space like that, like the message boards Funko has. So I don't know, maybe we need that, because it's a shame a bit that you have to attend events to really form those friendships. It'd be nice if there were a way to do it outside of that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I can think of websites like Tramped and stuff like that, where it's kind of a community building, like almost like a forum, like a Facebook. But, you know, I go there to look up toys, but I never use it as a community basis sort of thing. So I don't know. It's a good point, Nick, because I feel it's hard to break into the scene or just develop relationships, I think.
At this point, it's probably better, because I feel like a lot of what happens with Funko and Funko collecting and people massing these huge collections is clout related. I mean, people want to show off what they have to the other community members, and I don't know, carries some kind of weight with it. Whereas Designer Toys, I am just buying what I like, and that's the way you should collect, but that's not always the way people collect, and that's not always the way that I have collected. So it's not all bad that there's not kind of that outlet, but that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay, so when you're collecting it, do you feel like there's two sides of you? Because there's the Funko side of you, where you're paying attention to, you mentioned the limited edition sizes, you know, boxes and all that sort of stuff. I know a lot of the Funko collectors are very into their boxes. They buy a lot of cases for the boxes. You'll see walls of pop, everything's in boxes in people's collections. So there's that perceived value that if you keep it in box, it's going to do really well. But you mentioned when you're started collecting Designer Toys, you're kind of only buying what you like. Is that staying true with Designer Toys, or are you also paying attention to limited edition, what's in demand, who's in demand, what has a perceived value, and that sort of stuff?
So I used to be like that with Funko. I think just about everybody would be like that with you're chasing the rare pieces, you're getting prototypes, you're doing, you know, stuff that is exciting. But there comes a time where and I've kind of crossed that bridge where I just buy what I like now or acquire what I like. Like, I'm not getting stuff that doesn't fit within my collection scope, because I do like to display things and I have a finite space to display it. And same way with Designer Toys, I don't think I've ever been into the hype scene with that type of thing. I don't own any cause pieces. Of course, I don't have any of that stuff. Like, it's just, you know, it's what I like, and that's fine if no one else does. It's kind of just where I'm at.
But you do seem, I think, to be aware of value and limits and all that pretty well. Like the kill cats, for example. I know you're into those, and I mean, I think you're aware that they're limited and hard to get, and if you miss a sale, it's a pain in the ass because suddenly you have to pay 3-4 times retail to try to get it.
Yep. Oh yeah.
So,
yeah, I'm definitely aware of all that stuff, and obviously I collected Ziki ice cream dinos too, and that's no easy feat to get those on Saturday mornings.
Right.
So you kind of have to have your mindset right to get those, and I got a good system with that.
don't do what I do and wake up at 10:30, 11 and realize you missed a sale.
Yeah, or try to buy with PayPal. Knock that off.
Yeah. But no, well, I was just going to comment. I know you were saying it was just two things. Tramped Gary has been through this desire to do a redesign for God knows how many years. But I'm hoping they'll finally do it because there is, I think, a goal to have a community aspect to it. So who knows? Maybe that will happen. The second thing, I mean, you were mentioning, Nick, there's this clout side of Funko and this desire to kind of show off that they have so much. Mm-hmm. But and maybe you're just newer to the designer toy scene and haven't seen a lot of it. And I wouldn't say there's necessarily clout when it comes to numbers, but I think regardless of what you collect, people really are always going to want to like showing off their collection, regardless if it's Funko or designer toy. Because I think those are, and honestly, I like it too. Those are some of my favorite threads when it's just like, hey, post your shelf displays, and people go nuts. People just love to share and show off what they've been able to acquire, and those a lot of times will spark conversation too. So I think that's a pretty common thing amongst just collectors in general. It's just liking to be able to show off and say like, oh, look at this shelf, look at this display, look at this awesome thing I was able to find. So. Oh
yeah, I mean that's part of being in a community. I mean it's I totally agree with you there. But where I'm trying to get at, it's like, for example, at Fun Days they gave out to 4 tables at Fun Days. They gave out a gold hopper from Stranger Things Pop, and it is literally just the hopper pop manufactured gold. And people are selling it for like $2,200, and
wait, 20 like 2,200.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
I mean, it's LE40. It's a that type of thing. That's more what I'm talking about. It's
okay.
Rare for the sake of being rare, rather than something that you really like.
Yeah, we definitely have that in our scene too, though. I've known some people to buy things that they don't necessarily like the piece, but they're buying because it's in high demand and because it's supposedly super rare. That happens. They want that golden goose egg and say that they have it.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you see? So I mentioned the 2 different worlds that you're in. I mean, do you look at, do you display your Funko collection separately from your designer toys, or do they share the same shelf space? Are they completely different? Do you see designer toys as art toys, and do you see Funko toys? I know a lot of people, we've been saying on the show forever, that Funko is not trying to be a designer toy. They're not designer toys. They are separate.
Sure.
So do you see them separate? Do you see that as a, I don't know, I guess people would call them a mass market toy or a pop culture toy, versus if you collect a Kill Cat, do you see that as an art toy, or do you still just see a toy?
I mean, toy, yes, but I think they're both collectibles. I think designer toys are more on the art side, especially like the artist-driven, unique pieces. That's definitely more on the art side. But as far as like shelf displays, like I have a shelf of food toys, and there are definitely Funko and designer toys all on that shelf.
Okay.
And to be a mass market toy, that's that's definitely where Funko is going and probably already at. But there's still a huge collectability of it, and I think that's where that draws in and relates to designer toys, and it's all kind of about kind of finding something that speaks to you or whatever, that you see something and you're like, oh man, I have to have that.
Right.
That's kind of, I get that feeling about Funko stuff, and I get that feeling about designer toy stuff. So
now here's a question for you, and answer this however you like. You're not completely ingrained into our scene where I don't think you've gone to a 5 Points Fest or like a designer toy focused convention yet, but you're a part of our group. You listen to the podcast, and I've seen your collection. You have amassed a pretty decent and sizable collection in a short period of time. When you talk to people in our community, I mean, do you feel any animosity also being a Funko collector? Does that play any sort of role? Because I know that our scene is hard on Funko.
Yeah.
So do you feel like you need to lie in the shadows a little bit and don't let designer toy people know that you also collect Funko?
I mean, my type of personality, I don't necessarily care that much. I mean, anybody who knows, I have an Instagram account, and anybody who follows my Instagram account can see that I collect both, and that I'm pretty ingrained in that Funko community. But at the same time, I do have an affinity to designer toys. I mean, the negative connotation is definitely. I mean, I don't want to say it's one-sided, but I don't hear people from Funko complaining about designer toys or anything like that. I think a lot of them are unaware of designer toys, and I think hopefully what Funko's trying to do is kind of bridge that gap with the Metacom collaboration with the designer toy booth. I mean, I hope there's not too much negative feeling about them coming to DCon, because I mean, I assume there is, but.
Well, before we get to that though, real quick, do you talk, like, I do agree with you that probably a lot of people in the Funko collecting scene probably don't know designer toys, but knowing kind of probably what you've seen being a Funko collector in the designer toy scene, do you feel like if people came over and were interested that a lot of the way people comment and talk about Funko will turn people off? Like, does it turn you off at all?
Yeah, at times. I mean, there's like the scenario, like walking by like yesterday's, the enamel pin booth at San Diego Comic-Con, and they got a fuck no pin instead of Funko,
Right.
It's just like stuff like that. And then that ding dong on Instagram who has called out a bunch of the Funko artists for being sellouts and makes shirts or whatever and claims to be an ambassador for the designer toy community.
I know who you're talking about.
It's like, come on, like what, like to say that Funko artists are sellout, or if you buy Funko you're not supporting artists, is ridiculous. Like, you realize that artists create these, their names may not be on the box, but very talented artists, these toys, right? So I just don't get that. It's a bit of a turnoff, but again, I focus on, because there are a lot of people in the Funko community that I would not want to associate with, so I treat it just the same. Like, I associate with the people that I want to associate with, and I kind of try to block out the negative stuff as much as possible.
There you go. I like that attitude.
Look at you, positivity.
Yeah, I try to be.
But yeah, Gary, I have a feeling you're going to want to get back to what he was talking about with Fun Days and all that.
Fun Days. Okay, so Nick, you were actually at Fun Days. And anyone who's not familiar, Fun Days is the big annual event that Funko hosts for all the fanatics at San Diego Comic-Con every year. It was live broadcast for the first time this year, and they had 3.5 million viewers. So during that live broadcast, Akashi, the founder of Metacom, announced that Metacom and Funko are going to be collaborating on some stuff together. Funko is going to be there under the brand name Saturday Mornings, and they're going to be selling their cereal at a booth at Designer Con and all that stuff. And Theresa made the mention of, like, on last week's episode, like, Gary, what percentage of people in that room do you think, A, even know what Metacom is, and B, what Designer Con is? And, Ben was kind of mentioning, like, once this broadcast goes out, that hotels might fill up fast and all that stuff. So, Nick, what is, from your perspective, and what are you hearing on the Funko groups and all that sort of stuff? Can we expect a big flood of Funko collectors coming to DesignerCon this year?
Sure. I mean, anytime that Funko has a presence anywhere, you're going to have a big turnout. And part of that is the resale aspect of it, whether that's good or not. But at the same time, like, anyone within driving distance of Anaheim in November that is a Funko collector or part of the Funko community, is probably going to go to DCon. Okay. That's my opinion, I guess. And from a lot of what I've talked to, my California and Arizona and Las Vegas friends, and it's like, hell yeah, like, we're going to DCon. Funko's got a booth there. Yes, they're only selling cereal or whatever it is, but that's our brand. We support it. You got a lot of loyal people in that community that anytime they're at a place, I mean, I don't know if you heard what happened to the Funimation's booth at San Diego Comic-Con, but the thing had to shut down because they were selling one Funko Pop. I mean, it's crazy the kind of draw that they bring. And It's unfortunate that a lot of that has to do with the resale value, but there are those loyal fanatics who hopefully this is going to draw in more, because you've got the cereal and how the cereal is bringing a lot of nostalgia for people. Like, you're charging $12 to $15 for a box of cereal, and people are buying it without hesitation. You get the toy, you get amazing art by the Funko South team, which that's why I like it. It's an art piece to me. And then you get breakfast cereal. That's probably all right. Might stain your teeth, but you'll be all right. So
now, do you think so? it's great to hear this because honestly, I was just I had no clue. Like I had no idea if people would come or people were sitting in the room just kind of like, like deer in the headlights, like, I don't know what any of this is. Like,
Sure. I mean, you probably had a lot of that just because, like I said, a lot of the community is kind of unawares of what Metacom is and Bear Bricks and that type of thing. But Bear Bricks is pretty well known throughout any kind of collecting community. I think that will have its draw, and those will do as well as any Bear Bricks release would do, if not better, throwing the Funko name tied to it, because then you're drawing in some people that wouldn't normally buy that are going to buy it because it has the Funko name on it. So,
do you think that the Funko collectors who would come would be okay with it being like non-pops things in the cereal? Like, is it just just the fact that Funko makes it, is that enough for them, or is the pop aspect a big piece, and therefore, if they were to see if it was like a designer toy spin to it, would it turn the Funko collectors off?
I don't think so. Again, the people that are going to come out to DCon are the ones who are going because they're supporting the brand, and I think whatever they put out, these people are going to buy. So, and hopefully that, they're not just going to spend 10 minutes at the Funko booth and saying, see you later. They're buying other designer toys as well. I mean, to me, it should, and I think this was the plan, open up a lot of new people's eyes to the scene. So,
and that's I think what Gary and I were thinking and hoping as well, that if people buy a ticket to go in and see Funko, I mean, hopefully they don't just go for that one booth and leave. They actually are like, hey, well, I paid, I might as well walk around, see what's up, and check everything out.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say.
Are you going, Nick?
Unfortunately, being located in the Midwest, I can only swing one out-of-town convention a year, and that's San Diego. So
why San Diego? Everyone else is bailing on San Diego, and yet you're still interested.
Yeah, I mean, for designer toys, you are right. It is, it's few and far between, but there's just so much other fun stuff to do. I just have such a good time when I go out there. I've been going for 5 years now, so it's something that's still near and dear to my heart. And obviously Fun Days happens, and you've got fanatics from all over the world that come in to San Diego, so it's good to see. And again, that's that community part. Like, I see my friends when I go out there that I don't get to see any other time of the year, so that's part of the draw.
Yeah, which makes total sense, because that's the reason why I love going to 5 Points at DCon, is being able to see and hang out. So I totally get it, and it makes sense for the things you collect and the things you like. For me, I've never been to San Diego, and so maybe I would love it just to experience it once, to be able to just see what it's like, because I've only heard and seen pictures and whatever. So one day it'd be nice to just go, just experience it. But for me, I agree. Like, I only have certain budgets. The fact that I can swing 2 shows a year I'm very lucky that I'm able to do that. So
sure. Yeah.
I get it.
I mean, it's a pop culture convention, the biggest one in the world. So that's the focus. So unfortunately, very sadly, that's kind of, you guys have 2 great conventions, and luckily that's been there kind of to replace the lack that San Diego was providing for the designer toy community, it seems. So,
well, it was great for us for many years. I mean, it was awesome.
Right.
It was the convention for us. But then, designer cons started getting larger and getting more attention, and people started swing over to that. Now we got 2 stateside conventions for that, and then all the great conventions overseas and whatnot. So, we don't really need San Diego anymore. Not for our community, but it's still great for Kid Robot and other companies who do sell pop culture related stuff to still attend that event. I mean, this year I heard that. Were you there on Saturday when Kid Robot was doing the Sanrio release?
Yeah, I was there. I was luckily on the other side of the convention, but I definitely heard about it.
Insane, like almost like a riot atmosphere. Like, they were not prepared for. I don't know if it's the flipper community. I don't know if it's just Sanrio fans. You look at the audience. I saw a video on Instagram, and it was pretty insane looking, and it really did just look like middle-aged guys holding a riot to try to get whatever was going on at the Kid Robot booth. That was, I don't know exactly what was going on, but it didn't. I heard that things got out of control, and it looked pretty crazy. And you also mentioned the Funimation's booth. So the flipper atmosphere and the reseller atmosphere at at San Diego Comic-Con is insane, and I don't know how you deal with it, because I've dealt with it a few times. I had to try to go get like a Monster High doll for a friend, and I waited in line for 3 days, and it frustrated me to no end to watch the lengths that flippers will go through to just be absolute pricks to get whatever they want. And I can't watch that anymore. That's one thing that really turned me off to San Diego, was that environment.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's definitely, I mean, at least 50% of the attendees there are flipping something. That's kind of just how it goes. This year was a little bit different because they had the online lottery system for the bigger exclusives. So like the Funko booth, Hasbro booth, UCC, Lego, those type of big booths all had a lottery. So you would enter a lottery system, and whether you won or not, you got a time slot to go buy at the booth. So that was interesting. It definitely made a change to the con. It was a different year, that's for sure. Just because.
Did you like it, or did it help, or did it kind of annoy that you didn't even have a chance if you didn't win the lottery for a booth?
I mean, you could look at it that way, but the way I looked at it is like, I don't have to waste my time waiting in this line or doing, XYZ to get in this booth. So I kind of took it as a win, that I probably did more stuff this year than I have in any previous year, just because I didn't have to go. We used to go wait in a 3.5 hour Lego line for the minifig giveaway out in the hot sun, and every year we did that, and we didn't have to do that this year. And it's just like, a lot of time was freed up. Like, we didn't wait, we didn't get up early at all. We went out more at night. Like, it was a different kind of con for us this year. And there was a lot of complaints about the lottery, because it's like, oh well, you've got people entering that wouldn't put in the time to get that exclusive. And yes, that's the case, but I don't know, you also have an understaffed crew not being able to handle these ridiculous lines, and like you said, these flippers that do God knows what to get their Monster High or their Hello Kitties or whatever they're doing over there. So yeah, I don't know. And like you said, it's usually the people that are being rude and the people that are causing these problems are not the fans, because it's usually the resellers that are the rude ones and feel entitled to what they're going after.
We can hate them all as much as we want, but there's resellers and flippers. They're integral to our scene. They're the ones that create the hype and the demand, the false demand for this sort of stuff. It's, if we didn't have them, a lot of products would be sitting around. Look how popular Funko and Instinct Toy and Unbox and a lot of the other companies are today, because they have that excitement and demand and the fear of things selling out. So all that stuff is really, really resellable right now. I think, in the past, the companies that had that sort of stuff was, one would have been Kid Robot, and I don't think they have that anymore now, because they've gone maybe to more of a pre-sale type thing. So there's no fear of their product really selling out on you. And I think resellers probably are not as involved in picking up Kid Robot stuff anymore, because why bother if anyone and everyone picked it up during pre-order? There's no fear of just things dropping and that panic that sets in where you feel like you need to buy it that Friday or you're not going to get it. I don't know that Kid Robot has that anymore. Mm-hmm. And there is something to the hype and excitement of what the resellers can help generate. That panic that sits in, if you feel like if you don't buy it right now, you're going to miss on it. That's powerful.
Right. There's you flippers, you hate them, but at the same time, I agree. It's like you don't want them to exist, but at the same time, you need them to exist in some way, because they are driving the hype and the desire for these things and making them valuable and making them sell out quick and all that kind of stuff. So while I hate it, at the same time, I get it. And like, hype is important. I don't think things would sell as well if they sat for a while. Like, if there's certain toys that were to sit and sit and sit, people might start questioning, oh, do I need to be buying this? And I've seen that happen. Kid Robot is a good example. There's other things I've collected. I don't really want to necessarily call out names, but there are things that used to be super hot and you had to buy them and they sell up super quick, and now they sit for weeks and months. And so it's like, I don't need to go buy that right away. I have time to think, and I think when that hype kind of dies in some ways, it can hurt you a bit. Hype's a thing. I mean, Unbox surely has it, I'd say. Instinct Toy for sure as well, and there's plenty of it out there.
As a collector, does it affect you if it's like something you were after that you thought was going to sell out, and it didn't? And 4 hours later, it's still sitting there. The next day, it's still sitting there. Does it seep into your mind that, if other people aren't interested in it, I guess I'm sort of not into it as much anymore either? Or do you still buy it?
I've done that before. I've definitely done that before. I try not to anymore. Like I said, I try to only get the stuff I want. But, every once in a while, there will be some kind of release where it's like, oh man, this is going to be hot. And then all of a sudden,
it's not.
It's there, and it's like, oh God, did I want this?
But it happens.
It's hard. It's hard. It's really, really hard because, and this is where hype gets crazy because I'm trying to formulate my words. Unbox has hype, but what's nice in a way, at least what they do, is they have planned sale times. So at least you can kind of semi-prepare, right? All right, I've got like a day at least to think if I want this thing and prepare to set my alarm and get on. But then, of course, there's we put this online. Like Vin, my plastic cart. Jesus Christ. He gives me a heart attack all the time because he just puts things, a lot of times he just puts stuff up, right? You have that oh shit moment. You may have been looking at pictures and thinking about it, but then you see it and you're like, shit, I don't know if this is going to sell in 2 seconds or be up for a while. And so you panic. You have like this panic moment. And I won't lie, there's been things I've bought in panic mode because I'm like, shit, I really want this. Do I want this? I think I want it. Crap, I'll just buy it. So it happens. And, sometimes there's regrets. Shit, maybe I shouldn't have done that. And, I even bought the Luke Chew Prisoner, the little teeny bears, Gary.
Yeah.
I bought one of those because in a moment it went up and I was like, that's kind of cute. Do I want that? I don't know. It's pink. And I was like, shit, I'll buy it.
That totally doesn't sound like you at all. I know they were kind of cute, but yeah, I would say you were influenced.
It was just like, right. Like in the moment I'll get it. And then I got it and I'm like, why did I buy this? And so I ended up just selling it. I just resold it at retail and apparently it was it was the Oxy pink one or something, Nick. I don't know. But apparently one of the more rare limited ones. But I was like, I don't need this. Why did I do that? So I'm like, here, someone buy it at retail. My bad. But like it definitely happens. And it's hard too, especially we've talked before about colorways, Gary. You never know how many colorways are going to be made. And you don't want to regret passing up colorway A, hoping that there's a future colorway down the line that you like more. So there's been times where I just really want the toy and I buy it. And then a colorway comes down the line that you like anymore. So you buy that and suddenly you have 10 colorways of the same thing.
How many dinos do you have, Theresa?
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 7 dinos and 1 on the way.
Wow. And Nick, how many kill cats do you have?
I don't want to talk about it. No, I have 5. I'm missing the strawberry because I put it in my cart and dinked around looking for other stuff on my plastic cart, and by the time I went to checkout, it was sold out.
Oh,
so on the other
theft
end
is a whole other issue.
Oh God! On the other end,
yeah, the other
end
on
something, and you miss it. Oh God!
And see those Zeke dinos at the beginning. I was like, I had bought one at DCon. I think it was DCon. And so they started putting some up for sale, and I was, no, I just bought one. I just bought all this stuff. I don't need multiple. Like, I'm good with my one. And then after the fact, I was, shit, maybe I do like those.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the dinos I have, I had to pay above retail to get because they're so popular right now. And I was dumb and sat on the sales. And now I'm like, shoot, I shouldn't have done that. So it's hard because when you've been through the regret buys, you try to be more cautious. But then you still have the moments where you don't buy and regret it. So it's a very hard thing to manage. I don't know if you deal with the same thing, Nick, but I feel like I'm constantly struggling with like where to buy and when to buy, and I always end up buying.
Yeah, my new thing is if I buy something, I think, do I have room to display this? Because usually the answer is no. So yeah. There's a lot that goes on in my head when I buy things or when I pass on something.
Is your wife ever in the back of your mind?
Gary, I don't want to talk about that.
Is she a collector? Like,
No.
I've known some relationships get in some hot trouble over collecting, especially in the Funko world. I've seen a wife serve her husband with a contract. He can only spend so much a month. He can only go to so many certain events. If he wants to buy like a certain item, he has to sell another item to get an item. So what we spend on our collections, how is your wife with your collecting? Is she supportive of it? Because I know you went out to San Diego for 4 or 5 days, and she probably held down the fort with the kids while you were off doing your collecting thing with your community and everything. So it sounds like she's pretty supportive.
Yeah, for the past 2 years, she went along with me too. So she doesn't collect. She likes the pop culture stuff, but as far as the collecting goes, every once in a while I'll try to butter her up with some Disney stuff, but she's like, oh yeah, that's cool, and then kind of just like, okay, whatever. But it's a give and take kind of thing. As long as things don't slip at the house, or I'm not skimming money so I can buy toys instead of doing what I should do as a husband. It's usually fine. I'd be lying if I would say there wasn't some arguments that have stemmed from it, but it's probably pretty typical with this kind of relationship.
Yeah, I would say it's pretty normal. Anyone who's dated or married to a collector, and if they don't understand exactly why we spend or what we collect and all that sort of stuff, there's always little mini strifes, but as long as they're understanding of it and supportive of it, that's all that matters. But for anyone who does want to cause more strife in the relationship than they might currently have, we got several great sponsors for you. So head on over to strangecattoys.com, load up that cart. Be sure to use our promo code SoTheresa at checkout. That's all one word, SOTHERESA, and you will receive 10% off your entire order. Again, that's strangecattoys.com. Or there's also 3dretro.com, and 3D Retro has a beautiful brick and mortar location out there in Southern California. So if you're in the area, be sure to check that out. And then for all your daily designer toy news and to stay up to date and current on everything, be sure to follow and like SpankyStokes.com and thetoychronicle.com. And if you're into applications for your phone and easy on the go news, be sure to download the Toy Chronicle app at any one of your favorite app stores. You're a listener of the show, Nick. Do you think Theresa is she an addict? She says she's not.
I'm more concerned about this keeping blind box packaging. That's borderline hoarding.
We did a poll in the stomping ground, and it was, I don't know, 75-25, 75%.
It was shocking how many people keep them. And
no, it was shocking how many people talked. I was like, what the heck are you all doing, people? Keep your stuff.
Well, you keep your boxes, of course, Nick. I mean, if you got a scratch on one of your Funko boxes, do you break down in tears, or do you just accept it and move on?
Oh, God, I don't care about the box condition. I have boxes of boxes. All my stuff is out of the box.
Oh, okay.
It's all on display out of the box. But
You're a whole different type of collector.
Boxes of boxes. Yeah, it's the thing that always came up in that thread was like, well, if I want to resell it, and it's like, okay, yeah, that is the crux of it, really. And that's probably why I keep all of my boxes too, because if there's a flood or something, I'm gonna have to sell. But at the end of the day, if something's got a ding in it, I could care less.
Okay.
See, it's funny to me you say that, though, because you started out as this mint in package type collector.
Exactly.
Yeah, I needed to be freed.
Probably very, very, very cognizant, and now it seems like you've kind of eased up on that a bit.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely.
Wow. See, like the other day, so I had a friend who helped pick up a few things from San Diego for me, and some were the little resins from Chris and Amanda, and they're little header card type situation, so bag with a little header card, and I tried to carefully lift the staples up to undo it so that I can keep the header card or whatever. And when I was opening one of them, I slipped and creased the header card, and I was like, oh no! I was like, oh my God! I messaged Gary. I was like, Gary, is it bad that it pains me that I just creased this header card for $18 resin? Oh, but it was painful, and it's silly, but I don't know. And I don't know. Like, I wish I wasn't that way, but I am, and I just can't help it.
There's nothing wrong with it. There's absolutely
Yeah.
nothing wrong with it. I mean, if you have the space to store the boxes, and I like the way you break them down. You break them down. You have a box of broken down boxes, and we all have them. I think there's not one collector out there that says they toss every single box. We do have boxes in closets full of boxes for certain things, but I always just kind of pointing out last week, like the blind box. I just, it's
I know, but and I will have to say, like, I know that one box I posted was pretty organized. It's probably a little bit of a, I mean, yes, I have some organized stuff, but I'm not completely organized, and I need to get better because I do have messy piles. What I need to do, really, because what I tried to do is I had originally started with these boxes, Gary, and I labeled them. Blind box, like broken down blind boxes. I'd have one for like header cards and bags. One for duplicates of blind boxes. I'd put in little baggies. Like, I tried to get really organized, but then over time, my system kind of blew up. And then I had a pile over here and a pile over there. So it's bad right now. Like,
have you ever tried to find a specific box for a specific toy? Like one? That's my freaking nightmare.
God. So, yeah, you'll go to resell something finally. You're like, okay, I've had this for a while. I'm good to sell it. And then you go, I'll go through this moment where I'm like, shit, I know I saved that box or had a card or whatever. I'll even remember, because I save everything because I am a borderline hoarder. I'll be like, oh, that came with like a little certificate and a postcard and a numbered thing. And I'm pretty sure I kept those too. But because I'm a little disorganized, oh, Jesus, sometimes... And there were a few things I had sold in the secret waffle group, and I swore, I was like, I know I have header cards. Could not find them. Mailed them out. A week or so later, I find the freaking header cards.
Always.
I actually ended up, hey, I have your header card. I can mail it to you or save it or whatever. But I was like, you might as well have it. I don't need it. We should do a little scavenger hunt, Gary. Oh. You should like name a toy and see how long it takes for me to go find it.
Oh my God.
I could do that. I like
time
that.
of the day.
No, maybe not during a record, but I can do it on the weekend and I can edit it all together and keep it nice and clean for the show. But, so mentioned, the breaking down the boxes and stuff. I've always thrown out all my blind boxes, but now after seeing that thread that we put together, I've been collecting over 14 years now, and I kind of wish I did keep a lot of my blind boxes. Not, one just from every series, X-Acto knifed it, laid it completely flat, put it in like a 3-ring binder, and that would have been a cool little archive to have, because I do like the art of package design. I like looking at layouts and compositions and colors and type fonts used and stuff like that. Yeah. So I think that would have been cool to keep, but I didn't keep anything.
Yeah, I throw away all my blind boxes.
I
don't even, half the time I'm not even in the car by the time I'm opening them, so I don't have time to.
Now, are you tearing them open like an animal, like I do? Just jab your thumb in there and rip it across. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, I do one clean rip, cellophane and all, right on the top or bottom. It doesn't matter.
Awesome.
Oh, Nick, you're hurting me.
I don't need that extra 14 cents that I'm going to get if I resell it, if I have the box.
I get it. I wish I could just say screw it, but I can't. And also, like, there is something fun about seeing the packaging, I think, especially if it's an older toy and I can't see it. I like being able to get the packaging and see what it looked like. And, it's fun. Packaging is part of the experience for me. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's some great packaging out there, but as far as blind boxes go, I don't know. I keep everything that's unique to the toy that it comes in. Actually, I have the 5-point stunnies, Gary's 5-point stunnies. I'm pretty sure I still have those boxes, but that's simply because those are unique to those dunnies.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But any other ones I toss. Any truly blind bag ones I toss.
Now, Nick, going back to hype, and there's a company, Super Plastic right now has a lot of excitement behind them. And they had a very successful Kickstarter campaign, and they had like 3,600 backers. And people have said like that was not just funded by the designer toy community. I mean, we had further reach than that, and we kind of speculated that Teresa and I, Teresa's seen in forums, we've seen Funko memes and stuff talking about oh my gosh, I thought I knew, toys, and then I discovered the world of designer toys, and it was all because of the Super Plastic campaign. So I'm curious, like through your eyes and being so involved with the Funko community, like did you see many people talking about the Super Plastic campaign? Did it seem like that was generating some good conversation in the Funko community?
To be honest with you, I think it was the only people that I saw talking about it were those that I know that collect designer toys already. I'm taking a look at.
Okay.
I'm taking a look at the forums right now because I know there was a thread about it, but I don't know how much traffic it actually got.
Interesting, though, that there was a thread about it. I mean, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, there is a fair amount of non-Funko talk that goes on the Funko boards. Oh, what the hell? Janky is a hard word to search for because then you got people complaining about their janky this or janky that. Yeah, I mean, again, it's those fanatics that kind of bridge the gap between the two that were kind of into that. And yeah, I don't know where those numbers come from. I would assume, Kickstarter is a good platform for that, for getting stuff out, especially when it's like, one of the top featured campaigns. People just go on it and see, cool designs and go for it.
And I couldn't go on Instagram or Facebook without seeing like a sponsored ad and stuff like that. So they had a really good outreach. For some reason, I was thinking that I know I saw some Funko collectors that are in my feed, like, doing their renditions of Janky and kind of, kind of pass along the message of check out this Kickstarter. So I know I'm not crazy in thinking that it was probably fairly supported by the Funko community too.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I definitely saw stuff too, Gary. Because when it was going on, I don't know if anyone else does this, but I like perusing hashtags on Instagram. It's just something I like to do, to dig in and see all sorts of stuff. So when the Super Plastic Kickstarter campaign was going on, I was digging into all their hashtags and just checking out, especially when people are doing the design your own janky challenge.
Yep.
And there were a lot of times I'd find one, and it would be, definitely a Funko collector, because their whole Instagram is all Funko, and then they'd have the janky, and I'd be like, okay, cool. Like, that means that more than likely this is a person who is just now finding out about this kind of stuff. So I definitely saw that. I mean, it's hard to know how widespread it was, but
sure,
that's how
You know what I think is also helping, I mean, along with the janky, is you've got a rash of Funko artists that are starting their own kind of small designer toy companies or producing designer toys. I mean, you have Reese O'Brien, who makes the Tiny Ghost. Whether or not you consider that in the community, it's a vinyl toy and it's not Funko. So it's kind of getting a draw that's bringing in people kind of from both ends. And then there's another one more. Hold on a second, let me find what I'm talking about.
Gary,
I had a mind blank.
While Nick's looking this up, we should poke Greg. Be like, hey, Greg, where's your side projects? I get he's busy, but I have to say, Greg, I really, really miss all your little cute drawings and stuff. Although you did do the Mabs Drawloween, so you had a lot of little popsicles and whatever. But I miss his stuff, Gary.
Yeah, we need a ham-to-ham collaboration, I think.
Yeah.
Ham-to-ham collaboration.
Yes.
Yeah.
Huh.
I'll fund it, and we'll get it going.
Well, Greg, be like Reese. Start making side things, please.
No, but Shanna Duncan was the other artist for Funko. She's got a new vinyl toy that's coming out, and she's got a booth at DesignerCon.
Oh, wait.
So
what's her toy? I'm not familiar with her.
It's called Lucha Dog, and it's kind of like a little luchador dog. If you go on her Instagram, she's got it posted, a vector of it.
Shannon Duncan?
Shanna Duncan Art. SHANNA.
Shannon Duncan.
Theresa,
Art.
This is the one that I showed you. We kind of speculate she was kind of the one responsible for designing Tumblebee.
Yes. Yeah, she does a lot of the monsters. And
okay. It's not really for me, this
right.
dog, but it's cool.
Yeah.
No, it's...
So yeah, get that ham-to-ham collaboration going.
Maybe. We'll see.
Maybe.
No, well, I mean, Nick, you've seen clearly Gary's a lackin', so...
Hey, now.
Yeah,
Gary.
get on the phone. Give me that phone number for that factory in China We're the Whooper Loopers.
Oh, well, okay, that's in Japan, and that's a whole different story.
I know.
But it's guys, it's not without trying. I mean, there are things in the works. There's probably 2 or 3 toys releasing by end of the year. But you'd be surprised at how many designs actually fall through and don't go through to fruition too. I think when I'm self-producing, things. Well, that's not true too, because I've had things that I thought I was going to self-produce that I never ended up self-producing that I would still like to, but it's just sitting up on the shelf as a prototype. But no, but we're also working with other companies. Sometimes you go through many different stages and things fall through or never come to fruition for whatever reason. But I can tell you that there is the mini Whooper Looper being produced by Pauber. Hopefully that comes out around September or something like that. But as far as those other Whooper Loopers, I don't know if we're ever going to see those. It's there's something going on in Japan. My original contact, I can't really go into it, but I'm going to have to go through a different channel, and it's been a little more difficult trying to dislodge that product. So I don't want to say it's never going to happen, but also I don't want to guarantee it's ever going to happen again. So anyone who is waiting on more Whooper Looper stuff and fatty Whoopers, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
Gary.
The Jaspers with Marsham Toys. We were at 5 Points Fest. We saw them in hand, but I haven't heard anything on it since 5 Points Fest, so I don't know any release date or news on that either. It's just weird. Like, you put all these things into motion, and you just kind of gotta wait and see. But as far as self-producing, I'm really not self-producing as much anymore. Now I'm kind of putting stuff in other people's hands and hoping for the best.
Yeah, I get it.
No,
that makes sense.
I just like ripping into you, Gary. I know you're fun.
I wish I could. I do want to get back out in the garage, and I wish I had the time to do more limited edition and small run stuff. But I made a choice. I enjoy doing the podcast, and I told you guys this takes 10 to 15 hours a week of my time, and I would say in the last 2 years, I chose doing the podcast over self-producing. And I think if I want to get back to self-producing, this is going to have to go to the wayside. And I think, Theresa, maybe that's where that comes in, to where we've discussed going bi-monthly. And maybe that week off every other week, maybe I can get back to doing more designer toy stuff.
Cool. I do have, yeah, I'm fine with that.
As a listener, deal. My biggest takeaway is that Gary told me that there would be more colorways of the fatty Whooper, so I didn't buy the one from 5 Points last year.
Oh, see, I'm sorry. I mean, that makes me feel terrible because it really is out of my control.
No, I get it. I'm just giving you a hard time.
What's funny, Nick, is because that thing took so long to get produced. Because I remember, I would go through Instagram feeds and dig deep, and I found that thing, and I was like, "Oh, where's this? How do I get it?" And I'm like, "It's still not made." And so when that baby came out, I had this feeling. I was like, "Who knows? It took so long for this one thing to be made. Who knows if another will be made? I'm buying this thing. I am buying this thing. This is the time. This is my chance." So I'm so glad I did, but I feel so bad because I don't think you're alone. That there are people who either missed out or didn't get it, who are probably sad to hear that there may never ever be another fatty Whooper. But
well, I feel bad, but I don't want to ever say never, but I also don't want to tell anyone that another one is happening. I did that with the first one. That was way too long of a wait. I know there were disappointed people that they didn't, because we did such a small run. A lot of people missed out. So I don't want to guarantee anything. If we do end up having another colorway come out, we'll give enough announcement ahead of time, but we're not going to definitely make any announcements until something is in hand and ready to sell.
Right. Yeah. Man. Okay. Anyway, I don't even know where we... I don't even know how we got here.
No, you guys were doing a good job.
Also. Hound Gary about making more stuff.
I want to. I do want to. I can say there are new things coming out. I can't, NDA, I have NDA agreements. I can't say anything, but I can guarantee you there is going to be probably 3 new releases before the end of the year's out.
Ooh, there's not much left of the year. It's exciting.
I know.
Wait, now those 3 things, what do they include? Things you've already mentioned, or are we talking about 3 things you haven't mentioned?
One I did mention. I'm really hoping that the mini Whooper Looper should be released by the end of the year. And I think the other two will be new to you.
Oh, all right, Nick. We've got some hope.
Deal.
There's some hope.
We got some ham goodies coming our way.
Ham goodies.
One of them is very spendy, so start saving your money
Oh boy.
if it's something you want.
So some of that Fun Days stuff.
So,
Derailing.
you know, I'm curious. The flippers and everything we were talking about, I know in the Funko community that bots is like a real thing. Like people literally creating computer programs to purchase items on their behalf. I've never heard of such a thing in the designer toy world where people get that into it. But that's a problem in the Funko world, right? Like people are actually programming so that they can buy things like within a matter of seconds, right?
Yeah. So there's certain groups of people, and call them like the supreme hype beasts, sneaker flippers, whatever you want to call them. Those guys, the Funko has definitely caught their attention because it's low investment because they're, 10 to $15 a piece. And the Funko shop uses Shopify, which is easily bottable, apparently, according to these bot groups. There's a lot of argument back and forth that it's a myth and that there's just that many people who want it, that they sell out in under a minute. But at the end of the day, there's proof that there's these flipper groups that are buying hundreds of stock and for resale. It's just kind of the norm now. So Funko Shop does a release every Wednesday at 7:30 Pacific time, and if it's pop, it'll sell out within 5 minutes. At the very latest. 5 minutes is a very high number. And usually it's a high 10 to 20,000 stock. So it's not like low LEs.
Rapazoid.
Gary, could you imagine? Like, I could not imagine having to deal with that. Because already it can be hard enough in the designer toy world to get a hold of things. To have to deal with I would lose my mind. Like, I don't think I could do it.
Yeah, I'd have a tough time in that. That would drive me crazy.
Yeah.
But it's the same. I've heard the term bots. I've heard the Mondo community has a tough time getting prints because of bots, and but I didn't know that bots were fully. I thought there was some sort of human control. I thought maybe it helped with the F5 click and some refresh and stuff like that. But I didn't realize it was. You guys make it sound like something that's fully automated, fully computer controlled. They have your credit card. They can add things to the cart. They can check out. And to me, that's crazy. I've never heard of that. And if that's what it is, I don't know how you compete with a computer. I wouldn't like that. It's such an advantage. I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
Right. Not that we should be I don't even know really fully how it works, Gary, but just picture a computer programmer software where you've basically said, hey, keep refreshing and checking this URL. And once it's available, the bot knows to add to cart, fill everything out, check out. You literally say hey, bot run, and you go do your thing. You go about your day.
And then to avoid the one per customer thing, these bots have virtual credit cards, which is a unique credit card number for every purchase, forwarding addresses and names. So it's a pretty robust system and, kind of a beautiful mind scenario, but it's serious. Yeah, it's wild.
What you're saying is blowing my mind. I get so far out of my comprehension. It's too future. I just can't, my mind can't get there.
Right. So I don't know. They've tried to take means to combat it, but it's never, I don't know.
Right. It's unfortunate that it happens, but it's a good thing for Funko and Cause and Mondo and whoever else is having to deal with this sort of reseller that's willing to go the distance and find ways to buy more of their product. It's a great thing for them, but it sucks for us little people who just want to own something for our own collections. And so unfortunately it exists, but what are you going to do? They're always going to stay one step ahead of us.
I'm just glad that the bot issue has not really, I'm sure it exists in some fashion maybe in our scene, but I'm just glad it's not that. All y'all listeners, don't you get ideas? No one go out there and start bot communities and bot. Okay, people? Let's not ruin our community.
You got to do what you got to do.
No botting. Let's all just
Theresa, you're kind of a techie. You can learn this stuff.
I am not. Okay, no. I am not going to cross
against
that
your
line.
morals.
Yes, my goody two-shoes, Catholic raised self will not go create a bot. instead, I mean, I will do my best. I'll set my alarms. I'll get on there. There are certain things you can do to at least better your odds.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know
mean,
if I want. I mean,
if you're ready to
maybe we
go
should
at
reveal these secrets.
I think I just came up with a new game. A new game that we can play. It's gonna be called "How Good of a Goody Two Shoes is Theresa?" And I'll ask George and Jess questions like, Theresa just went to Target and she was having all of her food ring up, and she noticed the guy forgot to scan the grapes. Would she tell the guy, or would she try to get away with $5 of grapes? What do you think?
Oh, she would tell him.
Look at her laugh.
Oh, yes, I would.
That means she would tell him.
And let's say she did get away with it. She went home, like it would eat at her so much that she would probably never actually eat a grape.
Oh.
And she would just stare at him, and probably a week later return the grapes with the receipt and pay in full.
Gary, I wouldn't let it get that far.
You would never get out of the store in the first place. All right, so guys, we're running a little long. So before we wrap up, Nick, how about we do a round of lightning questions with you?
Sure.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, so let's go Funko collection first. What is your prized possession Funko piece?
It's probably an LE38 Amazing Carlos Spastic Plastic, like back in the Mike Becker days when they were making their original characters.
Okay.
It's a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive from 2009.
Okay.
So way back when. So that's probably 2005, even better.
Nice. Okay. And designer toy collection speaking.
What is it? Probably that Halloween Whooper Looper. I mean, any of the Whooper Loopers are hard to get, but that Halloween one is my special one.
Okay. What's your favorite childhood toy?
Favorite childhood toy? I had a sewer surfing Michelangelo Playmates Ninja Turtle that he had like sharks on the shoulder, and he had a surfboard, and I took that thing everywhere. And then I rebought it for my kids, and they don't care about it. Oh God.
I can relate. I can totally relate to that. They don't care about my old toys. They don't even care about my new toys or my own toys. Yeah.
Oh.
What's your favorite Patrick Swayze movie?
Point Break.
Okay. What toy are you hoping to one day add to your collection?
It's freaking Strawberry Kill Cat by Andrew Bill.
Really? I think we can work on that for you. Teresa.
Friggin', it's like $400. I'm not paying that much for a $40 toy.
Okay,
I
didn't know.
You're out of the loop. That's a tough one. But I'll still keep my eye out.
Yeah, I check. And I think the last one sold in March or May for like $350.
Woo!
And it's even harder because I had it in my cart. Gary, I had it in my cart.
What was the limited edition size on that?
50.
50.
And I didn't know that until after it sold out.
Well, how many are being flipped? Does it just seem like majority of people that got it were flipping it, or
I think initially that first month or two, a lot of people were flipping them. But at that point, I was like, no friggin' way am I paying that much.
You know what? Sometimes what happens too is you don't intend to be a flipper, you don't intend to be a reseller, but like eventually it gets word to you that toy that you spent $50 on is being sold for $400, and you start thinking, do I?
Right.
I could probably use that $400 more than I need this toy, and then next thing you know, you're becoming that reseller. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's like I don't like the people that buy something and then sell it the next day with solely the intentions of selling it. But if you keep something for several months and you decide, I want to part ways, and it was something that you really wanted, you didn't have initial intentions to resell and do that, then I think that's okay.
Yeah. It's all a balance.
We all do it. I don't think anyone should feel ashamed because everyone's done it. I feel like in some point or time, you have a thing you bought that got more valuable or what have you, and you think, do I need this thing? Maybe I don't, and you sell it. It's a thing. I mean, it's... I don't know.
Now, is that the biggest heartbreak you've had, Nick, is trying to acquire a piece?
For designer toys, yeah, probably.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, it's not even that bad, but it sucks to see the collection incomplete. And I'm not a completist, which is the shitty part about it. It's like, why do I care that much? But just the fact that I essentially had it, and then
That's the worst part, because when something's in your cart, you feel like you already have it. It's in your possession. All you have to do is now just take 30 seconds to a minute to type in the remainder of your information. But when something's taken from your cart, that's like going to the grocery store and someone running by and stealing your grapes or something, you know? You're going to run them down, but you can't do that when it's in just the internet. You don't know who they are.
Yeah, nobody holds
Right.
cart stock anymore.
No one
a thing of
does.
the past.
This is what we were talking about, Gary. Like, a lot of times with these things, you don't have time to think. You just have to do, and then suddenly you're like, "Oh, what did I do?" Like, I just bought that thing. I hope I like that thing.
It sounds too stressful.
It's hard, Gary. It's hard.
I know a lot of people out there have their credit cards memorized and they're good to go, or copy pasted in. I guess you really need to do whatever you need to do to shave time.
Chrome autofill.
Yeah,
It's your friend.
Yeah, there's a lot of, you can definitely do some things. Be ready on the night. If there's I'll pre-log into PayPal, or like Mick said, make sure my address information's saved so I can just autofill it in. If you need to log into the site ahead of time because it's required. There's a lot of things you can do to try to help. Like, there's times where I'll debate between my laptop and my phone, see which one seems to be running better or quicker, or like play with the checkout process and see if it's shorter on the phone. There's things, Gary, and that's the thing. Like, when you talk about me being an addict, I'm like, no, sometimes you really just have to be dedicated. And I am not that way in the Funko world, because I own some Funko things, but like, I feel completely out of the loop. But in the designer toy world, I've gotten in the know. Like, I feel like I've worked and researched and figured certain things out, and I'm sure that's the same way in the Funko community too. But like, sometimes you gotta, if you want to be able to get the thing, you gotta put in the time to figure out the best way to do it.
It's hard work being a collector. In some cases, this is a part-time job acquiring what you want. If you're following the toy blogs, you're listening to podcasts, and that's just the designer toy scene trying to stay on top of stuff and following Instagram accounts, and you know, the whole algorithm thing of Instagram really screwed with people's lives, and and then I can't imagine trying to do it as a Funko collector, Nick. Trying to stay on top of their releases and knowing what stores carrying what. You really gotta stay on top of stuff there, and being a collector it's not easy.
Oh, yeah.
Gary, it's so bad. I have the new release tab for my plastic heart always on my computer, and I refresh it every now and again throughout the day. No joke. But like, literally, I have certain tabs open, and every now and again, like, I check them.
Which I get, because you were mentioning earlier, like, sometimes my plastic heart just drops things spontaneously, and I'm sure you've missed things in the past, so they're partially responsible for your craziness. Out of curiosity, how often does it happen where you're surprised by a refresh?
It happens decently often, enough that I feel like I need to do it. Like, obviously, some of the stuff he stocks isn't like a seedless, a toy that I know is like, oh shit moment, and I'm like, oh god, I got to buy this, because there's a gamut of stuff that he sells.
Yeah.
Like, the other day I refreshed, and he had a new blind box series, the Sony Angels, that are the summer series, and they're really cute because the little peepees are hidden with swim shorts, and they have little penguin hats.
I was hoping that I'd be on an episode that mentioned.
Yeah, so no privates. We got the cover up. But anyway, I was like, shoot, I had been thinking I wanted that series and not budgeting for it, and I'm like, crap. And I know I have a little bit more time on this one, but still, I'm like, shit, like, I want those. Do I buy them? What do I do? So now it's just every now and again something pops up, and you're like, crud, I want that. What do I do? I just bought X.
I don't know if everything's a surprise, but you guys stay on top of people's newsletters that might mention stuff there. Now there's Instagram. I don't really pay that much attention to Instagram stories, but I'm starting to catch on that now they're just releasing stuff only through Instagram stories and not their actual Instagram feeds. Like, there's just so many ways to miss out on things now, and I'm not staying on top of everything as much as I probably should. And like I said, it's a full-time job being a collector, or at least a good part-time job.
It's hard.
The biggest adjustment that I had was the idea of lotteries. Like, that threw me off when I first started, and I think I was trying to buy Candy Bolton's Baka Kujira for the longest time, and a lot of them were just being sold through lottery, through her, through someone else, and finally I got one just through, like, randomly seeing a post on,
nice,
her website, or not her website, but her Instagram. and got one of the orange colorways. But it was just like that's such a different concept. That like just putting your name in a hat to be able to buy something.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
What is
different.
Talking about lotteries, do you love them or hate them? Because I go both ways. Because in some ways, I feel like at least it gives me a chance on things that I feel like I may have had a really hard time to obtain. But other times it's like, damn it, I just want to buy it.
Sure. Yeah, no, I've same way. Like that Mami Moyashi, the big orca, however big that freaking thing was. I put in for that, and I didn't get it. And after not getting it, I was like, yeah, that's probably good. I probably didn't need that. But like, if I got it, I would have bought it. So, it gives you kind of that back out, I suppose. So,
but it's also the heartbreaking moment. So like, I've entered some Instinct toy lotteries, and they had the chocolate erosion mollies and the mini molly, and I really liked them. And of course, I entered and didn't win, and it's like, like it sucks because I really wanted it and I can't get it. And now if I wanted to buy it, God knows what price I'd have to pay. So it's a blessing and a curse, I think. It's nice that it evens the playing field, but at the same time, it's a bummer when you can't get a hold of something that you really, really wanted.
Sure.
So anyway, we were kind of in lightning round, Gary, and then kind of got out of it.
I'm out of questions. I think we're good.
Wait, we'll do one more. Let's see. If you had to pick a favorite ham, Greg or Gary, who would it be, Nick?
Oh boy.
You can't put brother against brother. You can't.
Pick Greg.
I mean, I've met Greg in person, so.
You know what? I have the looks. Go ahead and pick Greg.
Maybe it was Gary. I don't know. Wait, who was signing at that IDW booth?
That was Greg. That would have been Greg.
I was just doing the old classic twin removal.
Now it's
Greg.
Greg.
No, I can't pick. That's ridiculous.
I'm
it's like
just
saying which one of my favorite kids.
I was just throwing a hard one in there.
Teresa, who's your favorite?
Greg, obviously. I don't like you right now.
Yeah.
I know. You're in the anti-period club. As of this morning, I'm going to have to dig my way out of this. I didn't even do anything that bad. I think I got the short end of the stick on this one. I think you were just in a mood this morning, and it carried throughout the day.
Oh, don't you dare bring my emotions into this, Gary. You didn't even apologize. You pushed a button, and you didn't even care. So,
because I didn't know. The problem is, Nick, is I didn't know I pushed a button. I'm very sarcastic in my text, and every once in a while, and she responds in certain ways with bitmojis and stuff like that. I'm like, I can't tell if she's upset with me or not. So then I keep poking, and then I realize she really was serious. So yeah,
it's okay, Gary. I think this podcast has been a little therapeutic. I'm a little less mad, so I forgive you.
You just need to hear my voice. I've upset a lot of friends through my written word, and I think if people would read my written word how I would say it, they would interpret it in a completely different way.
It's very hard to. No, it's hard when we talk sometimes because I know you are sarcastic and I can be sarcastic too. And a lot of times, Nick, when we're talking, we are being like absurd back and forth. So I don't know. I just it rubbed me and I was like, screw it. I'm not talking to you.
All right. Well, let's virtual hug, Teresa. Let's hug it out.
Virtual hug. Okay.
All right.
I guess, Gary, you can be my favorite ham. Sorry.
All right. Well, Nick, thanks for joining. I know it's been a long time coming. You were moving when we first invited you on, so thanks for being patient with us when we finally got you on. I think it was fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully one day we can actually meet in person, maybe at a designer toy convention and not a pop culture convention.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
One day.
Speaking of which, anyone who's not familiar, I know we haven't been doing Lisa Sneak Peeks recently, but news on 5 Points Fest has come out. It's going to be at the same venue as last year, and it's going to be Saturday and Sunday, June 1st and June 2nd. So mark your calendars. So, Nick, Teresa, this is a wrap. Why don't you each take a moment and let people know where they can find you? Nick first.
You can find me on Instagram. It's collector.badger, and you can see all my Funko/designer toy posts. Okay. Maybe I'll even put both in one.
But you're also on the Marsham Toy Hour group page. We call it the Stomping Ground, but anyone who's not familiar, you can go on Facebook and search Marsham Toy Hour, and there you go. You can click the member button, answer 3 simple questions, and you're in. So you can find Nick there also. He goes under his name, Nick Aliotta.
Oh, he messed it up again.
How did I mess it up? Nick Aliotta.
It's not Ollie. It's Allie.
Allie.
Nick Aliotta.
Not Ali. Allie.
Yeah. Correct. Thank you, Teresa.
I'm not even going to bother.
I'm here for you, Nick.
I know. I appreciate it.
Teresa, where can
Even
people
though I
find
give you a hard time on the stomping ground.
She's a good sport.
Yep.
All right, Teresa, where can people find you?
If you all want to find me, check me out on Instagram. My username is tmhawk24.
And I'm Gary Ham. You can find me at Gary Ham on Instagram or superham.com. This has been the Marsham Toy Hour. We're going to start doing this every other week, not because we have to,
But because we want
because
to.
we want to.
Yeah!
Yeah! Nick joined! Yes! We got participation!
Yes. In your face, George.
That's a first. I am proud.
So until our next transmission, we're signing off. Bye.
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 Yay! No one's ever joined in! Woo!
Well, I heard
No
the
one?
pause, and I didn't know what was happening.
Is that the
so.
first time?
Yes, no one else has ever joined in with me when I say that.
Sam.
That's the first I can remember.
Nick's a true fan.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.